I love what I teach because it is relevant to the world. Hi, welcome to Mr. Parker Meets. I'm Stewart Parker. All right, hey, welcome to Mr. Parker Meets, and I'm super excited to be here again for another episode, and I am beyond honored to introduce you to Donna Hackett-Mello. She is a second grade teacher at Arbor Ridge K8, and on a personal note, my middle son had her last year, and it was one of the best experiences that we had to date. And so both my wife and I think very highly of her. And so when I was coming up with a list of people that I really wanted to include in this, I wanted to introduce you all to Ms. Hackett-Mello just because of all of the amazing things she does in her classroom and the impact she had on my son. So welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm really honored to be speaking to you, Teacher of the Year. I love your family, you know that, so it's really nice to sit down and chat with you.
All right, so let's get to the start. So the very first question that I've asked everybody is, tell us how you got into education. Like, why did you decide to be a teacher? What led your path here?
So when I was a student, I absolutely loved learning anything. So if there was something new, I wanted to know all about it. There were some subjects that were a little harder for me, math, when we were getting up into the high school grades, but especially history and science and reading. I absolutely loved those areas. When I was little, I wanted to be a paleontologist. Love dinosaurs. You know, my room is dinosaur themed. I love teaching Latin roots using dinosaur names because I teach kids how they can help on vocabulary tests and all those things. When I got older, though, I realized for me as a person, especially, you know, having a family, it would be hard to be a paleontologist. There's only a few places that you can really go. So I decided, you know what I really like? I would really love to teach other kids, like I learned, how fun it is to learn. So I decided the best thing for me would be to teach in the primary grades, because there were a lot of the students around me, including, you know, some of my siblings, who did not enjoy school the way I did. But I knew certain things my teachers did that made it so fun and engaging. And I kind of knew I could do that. And I love kids and I love performing for kids. I actually have performance anxiety around adults. It's very difficult for me to get up in front of a group of adults. But children, it's really easy for me. I can become a different person. I can become Miss Frizzle. So I decided, you know what, that's where I need to be, because I'm going to make an impact on kids and I'm going to help them just enjoy learning for learning's sake.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's great. So one of the things you did teaching at the primary grade, so and why you chose that. So those of K2 groups, what are some things you do to really foster their love of learning?
One of the biggest things I try to include every day is a read aloud. Right now we're reading Where the Mountain Meets the Moon by Grace Lynn, who is, I only started reading this last year. Caden was in my group. This is one of those books where I read 1 or 2 chapters a day, and every day I get, no, one more chapter. I try to teach them, you know, this could be all yours. I don't have to be the one who's giving this to you and making you wait for this. This could be something you pick up and you're eager to, you know, I finished my work. Can I get my book? So I make sure read alouds are a big part. Another thing I've noticed that the kids love to do is, you know, they love to talk and explain why they're right about a choice. One thing that really helps with that is choose your own adventure books. Mm-hmm. Don't know if you're a fan. One of my favorite genres. So when I was a kid, my dad would let me go to the library up the street And one time we found a Choose Your Own Adventure book. I had no idea what it was about. So he started reading with me, telling me the rules. And then he would sit and go, okay, here is your choice. Think about it. Well, what I do in the classroom is we read through the books, we get to a choice, and then I say, okay, now raise your hand if you think. I'll let them think about it. And then I'll let people try to convince the other group why they're right and we should go with that choice. And it's really fun to see. They get very passionate, and they get very specific about little details that they remember reading that kind of give a clue, like, if we do this, I think this is going to happen. So I really try to do that. It really engages them. Now, this is all reading, but I try to engage them in similar ways in every subject area, because, for primary, we're teaching everything: reading, math, science, social studies. In the other areas, what we try to do is just make sure we have as much collaboration as possible. So if I can get them into groups where, you have students who are very strong in a subject area, along with students who may be a little weaker but still have great ideas, they can pull it out of each other. I try to make sure to pull in the interests of the students. So even if something we're learning in the subject area is not it may be something very dry, trying to pull in something that will engage the students, kind of as an aside, maybe a fun fact kind of thing, just trying to get them to re-engage and understand how it can be used in the real world. I tell a lot of stories about my brother Kevin, and how when we were little, we would do so. I'll say, Donna Hackett, the second grader, used to do this, and her brother Kevin, the first grader, used to do this. And the kids absolutely love those stories. And I use it to explain how you would use, for example, math strategies in the real world. So I try to do a lot of different things, and it doesn't always work the same way with each group. So you've just got to kind of do a trial and error with each new group of students to see what's going to really engage them and bring them out of their shells, and teach them that they can do incredible things. Even if they don't believe in themselves yet, they're going to believe in themselves by the time they leave my class. And that's my hope.
I love being a secondary social studies. I love what you talk about with those choose your own adventure, because that's opening up that kind of discussion and fact-based. If we do this, this will happen, or trying to get that cause effect.
Yep.
And I think that's pretty cool how you can bring that to those primary levels and have that kind of, it's a higher level discussion thing for 7-8-year-olds.
And they don't even know.
Yeah.
That's the best part. They don't know that they're learning.
I love that. So something else that you kind of hit on, and that I know, is the social emotional needs of the students. And that's something that is kind of becoming very important. And we're seeing that as equally as important as the traditional academic learning that we're doing. So what are some things that you do in your classroom and are done at your school that really meet those social emotional needs of your primary kids?
So we've always tried to work on those social emotional needs for our students, especially in my classroom. I have needed those strategies for my whole life. I was a perfectionist when I was growing up, so I had to learn how to cope with, hey, you got something wrong. That's got to be okay. So I knew all these kids are coming to school, especially these days, with all this baggage, and they don't know quite how to handle it. Mm-hmm. So one thing we did was, at the end of last year, there was an email that came out saying, hey, there is an opportunity for second grade teachers. It's going to be a grant funded It's through UCF and also 100 Women Strong. And two other teachers in second grade, we applied for it, and we actually were 3 out of 20 people who received the grant. We got curriculum from Collaborative Classroom. So what we do is we're focused this year specifically on morning meetings every day. We make sure we start very simply, the same kind of thing every day is, hey, let's look at the schedule for today. Let's look at what's coming up, which is funny. You think, oh, that's so simple, but it's not something everybody does. It's something that I've done because every year I have students with special needs who often need that. They need to see what the schedule is. They need to see what's coming up. But I did notice not a lot of people do that. Can take that anxiety about the school day from kids who don't quite know why they're anxious. They're not sure, but showing what's coming up through the day, something as simple as that can ease that anxiety. Every week we have a focus. Some weeks it might be friendship. Other weeks it might focus on a problem. Let's say there's a bullying issue that we want to address. Let's say it is negative self-talk. So what we do is we focus on those things each week, and we actually teach the names of the emotions. The kids have emotion cards with the faces. We have books, little spot books. They're very popular right now. And they actually name a specific emotion, and they also go through the intricacies. So you might have the feeling of sadness, but sadness can be brought on by different things. Sadness can be, trying to think of what I'm trying to say. So sadness can be something like loneliness. It can stem from loneliness. Sadness can also stem from loss, which is a different feeling than what you get from loneliness. It's a little bit different. After we tell the kids about these and we name these, we also give strategies for what you can do for these certain feelings, because you won't deal with every feeling in the same way. I think it's very important that kids understand too, when you're teaching them about these feelings, you need to be honest about the fact that you also feel these feelings. You felt them when you were a kid. You feel them now as an adult. You go through friendship issues, no matter what your age. And when you have those honest conversations, especially with the younger kids, they see it as, oh, okay, you really are being honest with me. And oh, this happens to you. So it's okay that it happens to me too. We can work through it together. And then they start to see you as a resource. They name their feelings. Mrs. Hackett-Mello, I'm feeling really sad right now. Nobody played with me at recess today. I felt really lonely. Okay, let's talk about this. And then they actually have that vocabulary to talk to their friends about it as well. And I've noticed a big change. A lot more of, I did not know. I don't see that as much anymore. I see more of a, oh, I'm sorry that happened. I didn't realize that you wanted to play. I'm so sorry you were sad. Why don't we do something tomorrow? They're just really starting to identify not only the feelings in themselves, but empathize with others. And that's so important right now. We need the empathy. I know how you're feeling, and I feel sorry that you're feeling that way, and I want to help you. So that's what we're focusing on. We also got a guinea pig. So we have a guinea pig. His name is Rexy, and the kids go and talk to him. And sometimes they take their test sitting next to him, and that can help them calm down. And sometimes they take breaks and they just go sit next to him and feed him a little bit of hay. And, they absolutely love it. So not every class can get a class pet, but we did, and we're loving it.
That's so awesome. I love how you're not, one thing that I get from that is that you're not kind of watering it down for these second graders, that you're like, hey, these are the real emotions, and let's learn how to deal with 7 and 8 year old rather than wait until you're 27, 28, 37, 38, let's give you the strategy now that you can be more successful as you move. I think that's pretty impressive. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. So you talked a lot about your read aloud and all of that kind of stuff. Do you have any other of your like favorite teaching strategy? You've mentioned a lot of them in here. Is there something maybe at your school that somebody does that you're like, this is amazing, and they're great at this, or there's just another strategy to use that this is pretty awesome? I'd love to share it.
So I've always been absolutely astounded by our third grade team. So they use those Kagan strategies like experts. I've gone to trainings. I use Kagan strategies as best I can. I do the cooperative groups. I've done think, pair, shares. But wow, the third grade team is they use it so effectively. We did. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you did, because it was a district-wide initiative. We were visiting classrooms. So our second grade team got to go down to first grade, kind of see what some of the teachers were doing. Then we got to visit the third grade team, kind of get to see what the third grade team was doing. And there was amazing stuff happening everywhere. But the Kagan strategies, I had some of those third graders when they were in second grade. It was hard to get certain students, they're just shy, it's sometimes hard to get a response out of certain students just because it's not how they are, they're more quiet. They would rather write a response and then show you the response, and that's okay. And then I was able to see some of those students that I knew to be, like hiding in the shell, and they were leading their Kagan group. And I asked, I don't know who I asked about it. It wasn't Mrs. McCabe, but I'm going to call Mrs. McCabe out because she is just phenomenal. And I asked, how does Mrs. McCabe get the kids to do, everyone was doing their exact role. So the person who was supposed to be writing down the notes was writing down the notes. The person who was supposed to be leading the discussion was leading the discussion. The person who was supposed to be researching and finding the pages was doing it. And it was like a well-oiled machine. And it's because, they've been doing this for many years. And they start from day one. It's like day one, you come into class, welcome to third grade. That's wonderful. Here's a Kagan group. You guys are going to do exactly this. They've got the procedures up on the wall posted. In the beginning of the year, every single time they do it, they're going over like, okay, so the person who is this is going to do exactly this. You got it? Got it? Good. I've always been awed by that structure. So I enjoy using Kagan strategies. I'm pretty good at it, but the third grade team, if you get a chance to interview one of those guys at our school, Miss McCabe or Mrs. Arms, I think you'd be floored by how well they use those strategies.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love Kagan. I love cooperative groups, but what I love seeing is how y'all use it in the elementary schools.
Yeah.
And I love that. I can see my students that have been continually had those things embedded in their instruction. To me, they're used to it.
Yeah.
Love that. I think it's great. One thing that I would like to ask is about last year with the distance learning, because that's when my son had you. Sad, we only had 3/4 of a year face to face.
I cried.
But what did y'all do as a team? Because y'all really worked well and kind of getting out some really engaging lessons for the students that were still kind of they were higher level, but they were still pushing the standard like that. So tell me about those that y'all had.
So what we decided as soon as we found out school was going to be looking very different at the end of last year, there were texts flying back and forth in our group chat. And we decided, okay, we already know who's strong in planning what area. Let's go ahead and take that and just see what we can do online. We went to all of the Canvas trainings, sat there, and as we were doing it, texting each other, are you in this one? Oh, you're in the other one? Hey, we're going to use this thing. I just found these awesome things that we can do, Nearpod or whatever. So one thing we decided that we wanted to do, we knew that some of the students, the families, were definitely not going to be able to sit down with their child and get them on the computer at the same time. They didn't have what they needed at home. Many students were without computers. So we decided we're going to make sure that what we do is we start from scratch. We're going to make PowerPoints. We're going to do screen share. Oh, you can do screen share and you can narrate while you're working on the PowerPoints. We treated it as if I'm standing up in front of the classroom. I'm simply recording myself. So that's what we did. I started with the English language arts. So I took over, I said, I'm going to do reading and phonics. I'm going to make sure that I'm playing with the kids in the lessons. I'll mention teachers' names. I might put a kid's name in something. We used a lot of Nearpods in math. We wanted to make sure that we used any resources we had available that were going to work well in each subject area. So math, Nearpods, and we discovered some of the lessons online were actually pretty good. They had the kids manipulating things that they might not be able to manipulate at home because all our supplies were here in the classroom, and it was a while before we were allowed back in. Then we decided, one thing I was extremely, it was actually depressing me that I couldn't read aloud every day. And we had gotten through chapter 32 of our book, and the kids were so excited to come back and find out what happens to Min Lee and the dragon. So I decided, okay, I'm going to record myself reading chapter by chapter. So I uploaded that. We found a ton of activities online from authors who were just stepping up to the plate and saying, hey, we want to help you guys as much as we can. We had I was able to get us a virtual meeting with the author, Grace Lynn. So she was able to talk to my students. They were so happy. We were all together on this Zoom meeting with Grace Lynn, talking about her characters, asking questions. And she did that for free. Jarrett Lerner was another author that we got to meet because we had, some of them had read The Engine Nerds, some of them hadn't heard it yet. So we were using their resources. They had a lot on their websites too. So we just tried to integrate as much as possible that would make the kids feel like learning has continued. We are taking what we were working on and we're just continuing it as we go. And I know that everybody was trying to do similar things. We were just trying to do as much as we could. I did voiceovers for everything. Every single lesson I made, even if it was just posting a quiz online, I did voiceovers because I needed the kids to hear my voice. So I think that helped with them feeling connected.
I also love, you're not going to talk, I don't know if you're going to talk about it, but I also love you still, I guess, kind of had a meeting with the kids. And so it's just, I have to say, warmed my heart and kind of made me laugh. Hearing second graders playing their would you rather type stuff, and you would even do choose your own adventure with them and these, and then you actually had a virtual end of the year party with.
Oh yeah, that was really fun. So our whole team got together and decided, what can we do? We usually have a whole day of activities planned. So we decided, let's get a few things that we can do while on a Big Blue Button meeting, but then other things that they can do over the summer. So we got them a little potted a little pot, some soil, some seeds. And we sent that home so that they could grow their own plant. We got bingo cards, and I sent Skittles home. And then they used the Skittles as the bingo card tokens. And then they were able to eat the Skittles afterward. And that was really fun. I think they were just so excited to eat the Skittles. And what else did we do? Oh yeah, I made them yearbooks because they needed that. Oh, and we didn't get to get the class picture, so I made them my own class picture. So I took their photos and I laminated those. I think I printed them on photo paper, actually. I didn't laminate them. But, you know, there were so many things that we were like, we have to make this as normal as possible, because we lost 9 weeks with our kids. And it was so sad. But they were so happy to see each other and at least have that little party. And eat their little snacks that we sent in the little bags. And it's like, okay, everybody can eat their snack now. Yay! Everybody get out your little Capri Sun. Yay! I already ate mine. Okay. That's fine. Eat something else now. Yeah, that was
And I think that's so cool, because I know teachers all across the country were just looking for ways to make it normal, because it was anything but normal for our kids. So as a parent, I appreciate the time and the effort that it took y'all to come up with that, and just how you care about the kid. So that's pretty amazing for it. But so I love everything that you do, and I think if anybody can get anything out of this, it's just that social emotional piece in here. And you can do it in a lot of different ways with your read alouds, through a structured program like y'all have with that, or just embedding things that interest the kids in there. All of those are good for their social and emotional needs, just to feel a connection.
Yeah. One other thing that I did this year is I built a stronger library of own voices authors. And I've made sure to get books that that kids see themselves in. So I have a huge classroom library. If you can look back there, all those colored books bins are full of books. But I just wanted to make sure, like, there were some books that I really hadn't known were not by own voices authors. So I made an Amazon wish list, and I sent it out, and people responded so nicely. So I've been focusing that on that as well, because it's really nice to hear a student say, "Hey, that kid looks like me in that book," and it's like, yeah, that kid totally looks like you. And so I've got own voices authors from all different cultural backgrounds. And it's been such a great learning experience. I'm following a lot of them on Twitter now. And what they'll do is they'll actually post recommendations. So you can access all these authors online and say, here's what I'm looking for. I have students that I want to represent, but I'm not sure. I haven't really found something in the second grade kind of level. Is anybody out there? Does anybody have recommendations? And it's so quick that you start to see replies on posts. Or if you just search for something like that, you'll see that somebody has already asked that question. And there's like curated resources. You can just, hey, send straight to your printer and get started in getting them all. It's really awesome.
I love that. I talked with the media specialist last night, shared that my elementary media specialist was an African-American woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the 80s, I didn't realize how unique of an opportunity that was. And so our library was filled with books of main characters that weren't just white, when white males or white girls, and there was a white male. I was exposed to a lot of those different cultural groups, and we had different people come and do read alouds from different cultures in the community and different things like that. And it wasn't until I look back that I'm like, wow, that's, for me as a white male, that impacted me reading those, probably not as much as my, Black or Hispanic other students that I was with, seeing themselves in those books, but it impacted me because it allowed me to see different cultures as well in a positive way, and in a way that just makes, because some, I don't want to say normal, but just as the same. It doesn't,
you don't see them as, you don't see them as other. The problem is with the idea of someone is other.
Yeah.
You need to see it's collectively, it's us. That is we. And everybody is different, and we need to appreciate all these different cultural backgrounds. We need to appreciate everyone's experience and understand that it's their experience. And I think it's so important. I'm so glad that there's more interest now, and I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to talk to a few authors about what that would really look like when you were putting that together yourself in your classroom. And I actually went to Scholastic's conference, not last summer because it wasn't held, but the summer before. I actually went with Miss Tanya Deering and Miss Amanda Ferguson from here. And one of the panels I went to was from someone who was talking and discussing Own Voices authors and the importance of that. So it really impacted me, just that panel that I went to. And I'm trying to bring that to others. And actually, I've already had several other teachers here looking at the books that I've been getting and saying, whoa, where did you get that? Where did you hear about this? Well, let me tell you. I'll tell you about Own Voices authors. And I'm gonna share my Amazon wish list with you, and you can start from there.
I love it. I love it. Well, your kids, your students, and I can speak from experience, are lucky to have you. Because your passion for primary kids and just teaching and learning overflows. It's evident in them, and it kind of sparks that love of learning and reading and just thinking through things differently and all that with my own kids. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And the last question that I always, I just love to ask, just because it's different and unique, and there's something you're reading or listening to or watching. In this time, we have some people have found a lot of comfort in different things that they're reading or watching or listening to. So what's something that you would like to share, or a couple of things? You don't have to share just one thing.
I got a couple things. So something I watch actually over and over again is The Office. The American version, but I'll also watch the original British version. I actually find, I guess it eases your anxiety when you watch something over and over again, and then you know what's coming. So that actually got me through like everything being shut down. I was just like, well, I'm gonna put on The Office again, and it always makes me feel a little bit better when I'm anxious. But that's something that I watch just, I guess, too much, but I don't care. Something I'm reading right now, I've actually gotten into audiobooks because I've noticed that when driving, even though I have anxiety, if I'm listening to an audiobook as I go home, instead of music, especially music with lyrics, music with lyrics actually makes me anxious, but an audiobook actually calms me down. Right now, I am in the 5th book of A Game of Ice. A Game of Ice and Fire. Not Winds of Winter. That's the one that's coming that George R.R. Martin is never going to finish. I think it's A Dance with Dragons I'm in right now. I'm really enjoying it, although there are times when I'm getting very anxious about the characters because I watched the whole series and I know that it's not quite the same. Some arcs are the same, but I'm really nervous about my characters that I'm listening to their stories right now. But I'm always reading that, and then I'll go back to The Hobbit which I read once every year or two, and then Jurassic Park, which I read once every year or two, and the Harry Potter series, which I read once every year or two.
Well, I always shock my students. I never read Harry Potter until my oldest was reading Harry Potter.
Okay.
So it was just, he didn't start it until he was in second or third grade. And so we read them together. And that was pretty cool, like a pretty cool thing for us to do those together. And I read them faster than he did. So when parts would happen, I'd be like, oh, how's he going to handle this? I can't. And so then, like, at one point we were driving somewhere and we got there and he got out and he was like crying. I'm like, oh, he died? Yes. My wife, I was like, we need a minute. Y'all can go in and get ready, but we're going to have to take a minute out here for him to calm down.
So what was your favorite in the series?
I always go back. I really like Goblet of Fire.
Okay.
I did like that one. And then I think 4 and 5, Order of the Phoenix. I think those two are my favorite. Yeah.
They're all so good.
They are. They were really good. Caden, my Caden's read the first 2. And so he's getting into I always see the third book as kind of what everything ramps up. Like it just it all starts to get going. The first 2 are fun, and the first 2 are really good and engaging. But the third one on, all of a sudden it just starts ramping.
Buckle up, guys. Here we go.
So what I'm reading, I picked up this one. This is Trevor Noah. I think I'm finding out it's called Trevor Noah, Born a Crime, Stories from South African Childhood. It kind of goes with the class that I teach, but also just kind of that perspective and what it's like. And so Trevor Noah, in South Africa, apartheid, they had different things. And so Trevor, his dad's white and his mom is colored. And so being mixed was actually harder for him because of the relationship that in apartheid, having a colored mother, which the thing that they had, and him being mixed, they technically couldn't be together. Like so it's just but then it's just Trevor Noah, so he has a lot of humor and he adds things in there, so it's really funny for it. But just his life growing up as a child. So I'm in I'm about a quarter of the way through this, so it's really exciting. I love finding these kind of books that I can push out to my kids. I had my kids read a book this year. It was by choice; they didn't have to, and it was about Iraqi refugees who fled Iraq during the war, went to Syria, and then Syria went into civil war, and their attempt to try to flee Syria. So this whole story, the book's called Homes, because of the different homes that they had to find along the way. And so then the whole thing is, are they going to make it out of Syria? And because it talks about the issue and who's going to take the refugees and all sorts of stuff. So I love finding these kind of books that can help my 9th graders expand their global view of the world. And for them, they think it's, and they're in Trevor Noah, obviously he's funny and they know him well. So for that. Well, I have had a great time talking with you. Thank you so much for allowing me just to sit here and have a conversation with you about what you do. I'm inspired. I'm thinking, how can I take some of these SEL needs and bring it back to my 9th graders? Because just because they're 14 and 15-year-olds does not mean that they don't struggle with some of the same things. They do struggle with those. And so allowing them to figure out how to handle those emotions is good. So I've gathered some stuff from this. So thank you so much for taking the time just to sit here and chat with me. And thank you all for watching.